August 27, 1896. The British Empire and the Sultanate of Zanzibar went to war. The reason: the death of Sultan Hamad bin Thuwaini, a British ally, and the rise of Sultan Khalid bin Bargash. Without British approval, Britain saw it as defiance, and they were not having it. So they issued an ultimatum. Step down by 9 a.m. or we attack. But Khalid refused, said bring it on. And at exactly 9:02 a.m., British ships opened fire on the Sultan's palace. Cannons roared. Smoke filled the sky. The British ultimatum had expired 2 minutes before. Within 38 minutes, the palace was destroyed. Over 500 of Khalid's men were killed. The British, not a single fatality. How did this happen? How did the British Empire wage the shortest war in human history? How do you go from an ultimatum to total victory in less than half an hour? We don't know the answer to that question. But what we can tell you is why Britain felt compelled to attack the Sultan in the first place. You see, the British viewed Zanzibar as part of their empire, even though it was technically independent. Why? Because of trade. Britain controlled the flow of goods coming into and out of Zanzibar. They also had a military base there and a handful of soldiers. More importantly, they had the Royal Navy, the second largest navy in the world at the time, only behind the British Empire. So when Sultan Hamad died and was replaced by his cousin Khalid bin Bargash, the British felt that they had a right to be involved in the succession. Why? Because during his reign, Sultan Hamad had aligned Zanzibar with the British Empire, not in a formal treaty, but through a series of agreements. This made Zanzibar a British protectorate in all but name. What did that mean? It meant that the Sultan had to consult with the British on matters of foreign policy. In return, the British provided him with military support and helped expand his navy. But Khalid didn't want to be a puppet ruler. He wanted to chart his own course for Zanzibar. The problem was, he didn't have the power to do it. When he ascended to the throne, the British summoned him to their consulate and told him to step down. In response, Khalid called for a meeting of the National Assembly, which endorsed him as the legitimate sultan. Enraged, the British gave him an ultimatum: leave or else. They gave him until 9 a.m. the next day to respond. What happened next is stuff of legend. At 9:02 a.m., the British attack began. 5 gunboats and 2 other vessels opened fire on the Sultan's palace. The shells came in 3 volleys. The first volley was meant to drive Khalid out of the palace. The second volley was meant to destroy the palace. The third volley was meant to send a message to any other would-be rebels. The attack caught the Zanzibaris by surprise. They had no idea it was coming. If they had known, they might have fought back. But they didn't. And so the British attack caught them off guard. The result was catastrophic. The palace was burnt to the ground. Its place a charred skeleton against the morning sky. Over 500 of Khalid's men were killed. His navy was wiped out. In fact, the only reason Khalid survived was because he took refuge in the German consulate. The British weren't interested in killing him. They just wanted to send a message. A message to the Ottoman Empire, a message to the rest of Africa, and most importantly, a message to the Russians. You see, at the time, the British and the Russians were in a tense standoff over Central Asia. The British didn't want the Russians to get the upper hand, and so they were looking for a way to distract them, to enter Zanzibar. By attacking and defeating the Sultan, the British sent a message to the Russians. We're strong, you're weak. Don't even bother trying. And it worked. The Russians got the memo. They knew that the British Empire was too powerful to take on. So they backed off. As for the Sultan, well, he spent the rest of his life in exile in Belgium. In fact, his descendants still live there to this day.